Today, we've got a special guest speaker who I've known for quite some time. She also happens to be CJ's sister. Her name's Tina. She started T-Rex Cookies, which started locally here and has now expanded into grocery stores all over the place. And I'm really excited to have her because I've watched firsthand the growth of her organization, and I know that she's faced a lot of adversity along the way. And I think it's just really good to hear perspective from different organizations that, although they're far different than what we do, there's a lot of similarities in the mindset. So, Tina, I'm excited to have you. Where are you? Somewhere around here?
Hi, can you see me?
We can. Yes, you're there.
This is so weird. I'm usually in the bakery. So it's so cool. Thank you so much, Kris, for having me. So I first of all want to thank you and your team. I love to see the faces because we've been sending cookie boxes out to all your clients, and we write all the cards for you guys. So, and we've gotten a lot of phone calls saying thank you so much for the cookies from Kris Lindahl. So I'm like, it's amazing. It's a great opportunity to spread the cookie love and the Kris Lindahl love all at the same time. It's great. Am I sharing?
It looks like a picture of a bakery.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
No.
kidding.
Don't
It's your
say that.
presentation.
Is it my presentation? Is it up now?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to tell you my story, and then I have a little bit of time at the end if you guys have any questions. So this is the best way I can tell my story, through pictures. So this is my husband's career path. So he went to Purdue, he went to MIT, took his first job at Northwest Airlines, and he's still there today. And so many of you can probably relate to this kind of career path where you're just on this road and it's just going to go straight up. And this is mine. So raise your hand if you can kind of relate to this. I was a liberal arts major at St. Olaf. The only consistent thing is I wanted to go into business. I wanted to go economics, but after that, I really had no idea. And a lot of women can kind of relate to this whole windy path of your organization, of your career, just because we get married, we have kids, and then we're kind of forced to go in different directions. And I found myself early on in my career constantly apologizing for changing directions. But you'll find that that's something I learned actually was super helpful to me as I started T-Rex Cookie. So here is my career path. I started out at Northwest Airlines. I became a professional tennis instructor. So Kris, look out for me on the pickleball court soon. Went over to Thomson Reuters as a hardcore finance person, and I realized how much I hated it. So I went off to Target, and then I was there for 7 years in IT, and then I went off to a small company called Blue Stem Brands. But where in all of this does baking come into play is your question, and it actually was my very first job out in high school. I was a baker at the Old Country Buffet. And believe it or not, they actually made a lot of things from scratch. And so that was my first experience in baking. But still, I loved baking after that. And so I started competing at the Minnesota State Fair. And I don't know how many of you have taken Strengths Finders, but my number one strength is competition, meaning I will not do anything unless there's scoring involved. And that includes making cookies. So I competed for about 17 years at the fair, meanwhile feeding all of my colleagues at all my corporate jobs and making them fat along the way. And they became my personal judges. And everyone kept on asking me why I was not doing this for a living. But keep in mind, I just kind of put that in my back pocket. So what is my story? So if this is a giant cliche, I know, and I'm not going to apologize for it, but it really tells the story of what entrepreneurship feels like. I had this great idea after I quit my job at Blue Stem, and I wanted to change directions again. I jumped on board and watched what other small businesses were doing. I kind of started taking notes of like, what are small businesses doing? How are they doing it? And then when it came time for me to actually take the leap, I started changing my mind. My husband's like thinking I was crazy for a very long time. But then by that time, it's like too late. You can't really turn around and go back. And I jumped. And for the first few months, I was like, not a good idea. I would be up late at night, kind of questioning my craziness. But then you have those good days where you actually enjoy what you're doing. And as you can see from last year, there's some days where you don't think that you're going to make it. And a lot of small business owners and maybe yourselves kind of feel like last year was a giant free fall and there's no parachute. And that's kind of how I felt last year. But one thing Kris mentioned was finding mentors, finding really good networks. And so in that case, really, those people really helped me figure out what I was going to do. And a lot of times when you say you're a small business owner, you feel like you're alone, but you're really not. You have to surround yourself with people who have the skills that you don't have or can do the things you actually hate doing. And for example, I hate accounting, so I've surrounded myself with people who like doing that kind of stuff. And you know, at some point you're gonna land, someone's gonna help you get up. And one thing these pictures don't show you is I totally barfed my guts out after landing, but someone's gonna help you get up and things are gonna still keep going. But here is my story in a nutshell. So I launched T-Rex Cookie in 2015, and my goal was just to write the business plan and sell cookies at the Minneapolis Farmers Market. And as Kris mentioned, social media is going to be your savior. And it was for me because the Today Show put a call out on what's the best cookie in Minnesota. And I was voted by my Facebook followers. And then I got a phone call 8 months after I started the business. Hey, we would love to have you come out to New York. I was on national TV. So my first TV appearance was on national TV. And what was great about it was, well, or great or not, my business took a completely different turn in terms of this is not what the business plan said. The business plan said, I'm just going to sell cookies at a farmer's market. When I got back from the Today Show, the US Bank Stadium was just about to open, and they asked me if I would be a vendor. Keep in mind, I'm just renting a commercial kitchen for 20 hours a week. So I had to find a brick and mortar. And so I opened a brick and mortar less than a year from starting the company. And it keeps going because June of 2017, I got a call from Singapore. Somebody wanted me to be an international cookie consultant. And so I didn't have that on my resume, so I created that. I went out to Singapore and helped a company with a chain start a cookie program. And that was something I never thought I would ever do, but it was a great opportunity, so I really couldn't say no. The Super Bowl came along, and we all know how that kind of went. A lot of small businesses were tasked to help out with that. And that's a totally different story, completely different presentation for a different time. But I can enlighten you guys if you guys want to have a drink and talk about that. In December, I was told that the building that I built my brick and mortar in was going to get torn down to turn into a condo. So I ended up having to move my entire operation to a spot where it was just me selling cookies out of a bakery in Eagan, which happens to be just 2 miles from my house. But the story keeps going because I got a food truck and I decided, you know what? Let's just have one because everyone else seems to have one. I bought a $2,500 delivery truck and I learned how to drive this massive car, even though I drive a Mini Cooper. And some of you may have heard from my brother, I did film Shark Tank. It's a really long process. It was a really good process in terms of being able to take my entire business, dumping it on the ground like a junk drawer and trying to sort it out to make sure that when you're on TV, if you get aired, it turns out to be a good story. So unfortunately, I was in a cone of silence from September through March, and early March, the producer called me and said ABC did not buy enough episodes, but so it wasn't going to air. However, at the same time, everyone knows in March what happened. In addition to the fact that I actually opened another location in March. And 2 weeks later, COVID hit. So all of this stuff all kind of happened. So this is basically what's happened to my business since I started. We all know what happened after COVID. And I was forced to kind of take a look at myself and how I could really use the skills I learned in my corporate jobs to figure out what to do next. So what's next for me, as Kris mentioned, I took some time during the COVID crisis to kind of reevaluate what I could do, and I could figure out to create a CPG product. And for those of you who don't know, that's called a consumer packaged good. And right now I'm in all the Hy-Vees, all the Kowalskis and Cub, and am in the process of getting into Target. So that's a completely different animal, but I had surrounded myself with people whose expertise is to go into those spaces. And what's really fun about this entire thing is, as I'm doing this growth piece, is finding people who actually believe in the company more than I do. And that's the best part of just kind of learning how I do things. Also, I am following in Kris's footsteps, and I'm actually launching a podcast in the next couple weeks in terms of being able to share my story and being able to bring on guests who can talk about theirs. Hopefully, Kris, you'll agree to join me in one of my episodes. But I'm launching this in a couple weeks. I'm super excited about it. And finally, I'm just going to give you a couple of pointers, and I want you to know that the buzzword for the year, or for small business itself, is pivot. And if anyone can recognize that guy there, that's my brother. It's such a business buzzword these days, and it seems like people say that they've just started pivoting, but in reality, we're always pivoting. We're always changing the direction we're going. And the biggest part is, don't be sorry about it. I started out my career really feeling sorry for every time I had to change directions on people. But at the end of the day, that's essentially part of who you are and how you do things. If you're not able to turn and change directions, then you're only just going to go down one path without being able to learn anything. You know, it's really popular these days to say fail. Failure is okay, but what you want to ask yourself at the end of the day, what does your bottom of your failure look like? Does it look like a concrete floor where, you know, you fail and then you're shattered in a million pieces and you just can't pull yourself together? Or is it more of a trampoline? This is my son, where he tries and tries and tries, but eventually he will land it. And that's what your question is for you, is like, if you fail, is it done? Are you just going to give up, or are you just going to pick yourself back up and bounce back? So no matter what shitty thing happens to you, just kind of know, as long as you learn something from it, failure is not all that awful. And lastly, are you doing what you love? It sounds super cliche and super like lame, but it's true. It's funny that when I talk about cookies and people see me change personalities when I start talking about the company, if you start talking about what you're doing and you're super happy about it and you love it, people can feel that. And I think that's the difference between my company and another, is people can tell when I talk about it that I actually love what I'm doing. So passion draws people to you. And if you don't like what you're doing, who's going to? So really wanted to thank you guys. I know I kind of ran through that, but I wanted to save time for questions because a lot of people have questions for me. Usually like what makes me keep going? And I usually say whiskey. And I'm not sorry about that either. But that is my story in a nutshell. And I want to open it up for questions.
I love that, Tina. Thank you for sharing. There's so many amazing takeaways. The one that I think you just shared there that I really thought about is is the bottom concrete, right? I think that's a really big thing, because we all go through ups and downs. If you had one moment throughout the defining moment of where you did fall down, stumble down, and if you could maybe share that moment where you really were struggling and then what you did to get out of it, I'd love to hear that.
Well, it's funny because it's not really one big thing. It's a lot of little ones. I think having to close my cafe after sinking a lot of money into making it work was heartbreaking. But at the end of the day, I started to realize I didn't want to be a restaurant owner. And knowing that and changing the business model really helped me kind of turn the business around and make it what I wanted it to be. Another little thing in terms of like, well, it's not little at all, and JR, and you guys call him CJ, but I call him JR, is the passing of my brother. My middle brother, Carlo, passed away last August, and being able to drop the company and handle and be with my family was a really good eye-opener in the fact that I could figure out how my team can work without me. And as a business owner, if you know, and Kris, I'm sure you know too, the moment you can step away from your business and it still functions is a testament to the fact that you have a good team. And that gave me the confidence of stepping away for about a month, and my business kept going and it thrived. And so that's when you know as a business owner that you have a good team around you.
Yeah, that's great. One last thing, I know there's probably a lot of other questions too, but what do you, like when you look at everything from product to the people, the process, to the entire successful organization that you've built, what do you think is the differentiator? Like what makes you truly different?
Besides my big ass cookies. No, I think honestly, I let people into the business. I am such a transparent business owner. I put a lot of stuff on social media for good and bad. But people, I feel like I take people on this journey with me. The whole idea of leaving your job and doing what I love, people feel like they live vicariously through the company. And so during my ups and downs, I don't feel like I'm alone. I have a lot of followers, and I always say that they're painfully loyal. But that's because I feel like they own a little piece of T-Rex because they've been on this ride since the beginning.
That couldn't be more, correlate more to what we've been doing here when people want to do business with people, right? And they're following your personal journey, which is the exact same reason the agents in our company that are having the highest level of success with their personal business is because they're active on social media, they're sharing their life, they're sharing their videos, they're sharing the images, and it's exactly the same. So I follow Tina and I see it every day. I would highly encourage everyone here to follow her and engage with everything that's going on and learn a lot, right? What she just shared, and look at where that company is today and where it's headed. A lot of it are the exact same principles that a lot of people in our company are using as well. So thank you. Who else has got questions? How'd you come up with the name? That's an easy one.
My name is Tina Rexing. T-Rex, get it? Oh, it's funny when I give them my business card, they're like, "You're kidding, right?" I'm like, "No, it's actually that's my name." But here's a funny story. Well, you know what? The cookies did not start out big. They started out small. And because, as you remember, I was a tennis instructor for 5 years, I had developed a really bad case of tennis elbow. And so as I was growing the company, the cookies got bigger because my tennis elbow was flaring up. And I would take the little small cookies to the market and I'd take the big ones, and no one would buy the little ones anymore. And so I'm like, well, I'm just going to make them bigger. And so when I say size matters, it totally does. Sorry, not sorry, because the bigger the cookie, the longer the shelf life, the softer the cookie.
Who else has got questions? That was from Cassie. That's good.
Oh, wait, what does the packaging look like when the cookies are sent to my clients? Oh, good question. So we individually package each cookie in sleeves, and we put a label sticker with flavor on it. And then the clients each get 3. And if they're local, we also put in a T-Rex cookie coin that they can redeem at either of our locations. Along with a personalized card, we write a card on your behalf, sign your name, and then we ship it out with a Kris Lindahl sticker on the outside.
Yeah, and we can share that inside our internal stuff so that everyone can see exactly what it looks like when we send it out. It's a really nice personal touch, and then also the note that goes along with it. Who else has got? Someone unmute themselves. Like, it's okay.
Hard question. Oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip?
I call the oatmeal raisin the redheaded stepchild of my cookie selections because I get asked to make it all the time, but no one buys it. So it's really funny. We'll make it every once in a while, but only after I soak the raisins in Fireball.
Well, yeah, thank you, Tina. I think CJ has a few things that he wanted to share as well. It's been really fun to watch your success, and it's really, I think it's really special that we're able to deliver really all the hard work that you and your team have put together to our clients. So it's super fun.
Thanks.
Thank you
And I
for
just
coming.
want to add,
Yeah.
one option after COVID is all over is we used to have like cookie parties, like cookie dough making parties in my shop. And once the restrictions lift, you know, it's a fun thing to do if you have like a special client or a group of you want to get together and make dough at my shop. You get to make your own kind of cookie and bake it yourself. So that's just some options to do if you want to like differentiate yourself from your clients. If you want to do a celebration with a special client of yours, I think that would be fun to do.
I like it. Yeah, no, thank you. That sounds really fun. I definitely like that. I loved when Tina shared that part about the floor, right? I mean, having that trampoline where we bounce up and down, where we sort of like have those off days, but we keep bouncing back up is so critical. And each and every one of you have that gift in you. When you keep showing up with that positive, supportive energy, they keep coming back and they feel comfortable with you as their guide.
Before I go, one thing that Kris, you said is your ability to share your story. You know, if I was to buy a house and I hired you, I want to know how you landed at Kris Lindahl Real Estate. You know, if you just sharing your story and being vulnerable to your clients really opens them up to trusting you more. And it's interesting to me because sometimes I feel like people tell me more stuff about themselves than I really want to know. And I become like this default counselor and I never know why. But I think part of it is because I'm very open to talking about my story. And if you're open to talking about yours and how you landed where you are, people can relate to that. I've gotten that feedback in terms of, why do I like T-Rex cookie so much is because they know more about the company than they probably care to know. But it helps them be part of it. So let your clients be part of your story too.
Thank you, Tina. All right, we got to roll. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks to everyone. Have another great week. I'm confident that April is going to be better than March with all of your hard work. It was great to see everyone. We'll see you soon.